Welcome to day 5 of our Advent Devotional series. Today we look at the name Prince of Peace, found in Isaiah chapter 9.
So, the Prince of Peace, what an amazing title. I don't know what you think of when you think of the Prince of Peace. Maybe you think of peace among nations. This week I travelled across a bridge. On one side of the bridge was the Russian army, on the other side was the Moldovan police. And the people in this area had had a time of no peace. Maybe you think of the Prince of Peace, you think of peace between nations. Or maybe you think of peace between neighbours and in the society close by. Perhaps that's something you long for in your neighbourhood. Or perhaps it's something that you long for on a personal level, like a knowledge and experience of peace. And perhaps when you think about the title, Prince of Peace, it awakens some kind of longing in your heart. Well, the bridge we crossed over reminded me actually of a place I used to go to, where we would get a big rock and throw it in this quite peaceful river and watch as these waves washed to the banks. And as we read through Isaiah 9, which is where this quote from the Bible comes of Jesus being the Prince of Peace, we find these waves coming. In verse 2 of chapter 9, there's the wave of light. People had been in darkness, but now they're in the light. There's the wave of growth and blessing at the beginning of verse 3. Then at the end of verse 3, it speaks about joy. Joy in the harvest, or joy from victory and wealth. Then in verse 4, it speaks of freedom. A freedom as the rod of the oppressor is removed, the yoke is taken away, freedom. And then the last wave is peace, as the paraphernalia of war is done away with. Peace comes. But as we read about these waves of light, of blessing, of joy, of freedom, of peace, we're thinking, well, where do these come from? And then in verse 6, we find that a child is born, a son is born. And then we have those 4 names. We know that it's about Jesus now. And the 4th of those names is the Prince of Peace. It's because of the coming of the Prince of Peace that people can know light and growth and blessing and joy and freedom and, of course, peace. And that title, Prince of Peace, it speaks of one who rules, and it speaks of one who embodies and characterizes peace. And in verse 7, we find that as his rule grows, well, so does peace grow. They're connected. And as Jesus' rule grows, the Prince of Peace, his government increases, peace increases. Peace between nations, yes. Peace between neighbours, yes. A knowledge of peace ourselves, yes. That too. You see, Jesus, he's going to bring peace as every nation, every tribe and language and people and nation kneel before him, acknowledge that he is the King of Kings. He's going to bring peace. And in fact, peace is coming already to neighbourhoods, to societies, transformed by the loving kindness of Jesus. But it all starts as individuals personally respond to the Prince of Peace. And perhaps this morning or this evening, wherever you're listening to this, you are longing for peace. And well, peace can be found as you look into the eyes of the Prince of Peace. You know, it comes as individuals like you and me realize that this one who is the great King of heaven, that he's come among us and that he died on a cross so that we could experience forgiveness. The great King of Kings humiliated, taking our wrongness, our sin, so that we could be forgiven, so that turmoil of our hearts, the restlessness of our hearts could be removed, and so that we could instead know a peace that comes from the Prince of Peace. This coming of the Prince of Peace is a cosmic event as the King of Kings comes to the world that he's created. It turns societies upside down as relationships are changed, but it begins as individuals like you and me put our trust in Jesus, the Prince of Peace, who died instead of us on a cross. Jesus said in Matthew 11 verse 28, the Prince of Peace said in Matthew 11 verse 28, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy burdened, and I will give you rest." And may you know the peace that comes only from the Prince of Peace today.
We hope you enjoyed today's devotional. Tune in tomorrow for more in our Advent series.